Wow.
Hi, Chris. Hi, Sue.
Hi.
Hi, James.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing good.
Good.
Trying to let people in the class.
Well, that's me up there on the left.
Yeah, I see you, James. Hi. Trying to keep track of who is joining the meeting just to make sure that we don't have any unwanted participants.
There you go.
Hi, Jean-Lucie.
Hi, Claire. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
This
And
is wonderful. I'm excited today.
yeah, this is good. I'm excited about these classes too. Yesterday I had a couple of drawing classes and they went really well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so today is another day of that. And I'm going to go to speaker view and I'm going to pin video on myself. There. So can everybody see me okay? Yes. Just nod, or you can go at the bottom with a reaction and just do thumb up like this with your mouse. Okay, very good. So in this class, this is an all medium class, and it's also an all level class. So if you are an intermediate or advanced and you're comfortable painting, and at any time during the class, you just want to do your own thing, you have a subject matter maybe that you want to paint, and do that while I am doing a demonstration, while I'm explaining, by all means, go ahead and do it. Okay, there's nothing restrictive about this class. And the notions that I will be sharing will be very basics. But if you're more advanced, I'm of the mind that we can always review the basics, but it should also be enjoyable. So this is a 3-week class, and in this 3-week class, we will learn something today that we'll use next week, and learn something next week that we'll use in the last week as well. So just want to show you a couple of examples of paintings that I've done. And I've done the same thing in watercolor and in acrylics. And it just shows the difference. So in watercolor, just a martini glass will look like this. And when I did it in acrylics, it gave me something more dramatic like this. So mediums are different. So if I put them side by side, you can probably see it okay like this. Just trying to see. Okay. So the acrylic will be a little bit more intense, whereas the watercolor has a tendency to be more of a transparent medium. So the whiteness of the paper comes through. So for today, I will focus mostly on explaining the supplies for acrylics and also doing a small demonstrations for acrylics. Small demonstrations, yes, for acrylics. However, if you have watercolors, you can certainly do the exercise with your watercolors the same way that I will do with the acrylics. It will be about mixing certain colors. So supplies for acrylics, starting with the paint. So for this class, and this is true for both watercolor and acrylics, you only need 3 colors plus white for acrylics. So the 3 colors that we need are primary yellow. So you can see primary yellow, alizarin crimson, and ultramarine blue. So you can buy these colors in all sorts of different brands. So right now, for this class, I'll be using the Blick brand. It's called Brickwerlick. Anyway, at dickblick.com. But you can also buy other brands. So these are student grade. The basics is also a student grade. That's a different color, but it's by Liquitex. If you want to use more of a professional grades, you can buy the heavy body by Liquitex, or you can buy this is the one that I use for when I do paintings, the Winsor & Newton Galleria acrylics. In terms of brushes, well, of course, I have lots of brushes because I paint a lot. But for this class, you only need a couple of brushes, maybe one that's a smaller one like this. And I can give you the number. However, each brand has a different numbering. So see, this one it's about not even as wide as a finger. This is called a flat brush. And this one is in synthetic, and it's by Princeton Art and Brush Company. It doesn't even have a number, or maybe the number was painted over by all the paint that I put on the brush. You can also have like a round brush. The round brush, the difference between the round brush and the flat brush is that this metal part is flat. So if I put it this way, it's wider than this way. Whereas the round brush, it's round all the way around. You usually have a pointy tip. You can also use something like this, which is my favorite. It's called a filbert. It's got like a rounded tip. It's a flat one, but it's got a rounded tip instead of the flat one. So it's a little bit different. Of course, you can also use the big ones, but for what we will be doing, you don't necessarily need the big ones, but if you have them, that's good. Okay, so that's for the brushes. And for the palette. So for the palette, I suggested that you buy a paper palette. So, nope, someone didn't mute themselves.
I'm not on mute?
Oh, did you have a question, Sue?
No, that's okay. I'm sorry, I'm not muted.
Now you are. Okay, so for the palette, this is what I suggest. It's a paper palette. This one is, well, it's big. It's by Blick. And also Michaels has it. There are different brands who make this. This is 12 by 16. They have different sizes, 9 by 12, 11 by 14. I like this size. It gives me a large surface to paint on. It's not that expensive. And this is what I use all the time when I go out painting. So this, it comes with 50 sheets. Well, this one is empty. But what I do is I take the sheet and I just put it on a masonite board so that it's very solid, and I can just put it like this flat and put my paints on it. Or you can also do like I do if you're serious about painting, but that's not what I recommend. So here, what I did, this is going to be interesting. So what I did is I put a glass on top of a foam core, and I duct taped it all the way around, and I put my paints on it, and I can then at the end I take a razor blade and I can clean it, so I can reuse this for many years until it somehow breaks. But I've only broken 2 so far, so that's not too bad. And the canvas is the other thing. So what I recommend you do for these classes is you can just buy acrylic paper. So this comes as 10 sheets, 9 by 12 is a good size. And this paper has a little grain. I'm gonna try and, can't really see the grain, maybe a little bit. So it's got a little grain, and it's 246-pound paper, so it's pretty thick. And for the exercises that we're going to do, that works really well. So what I do is I take a sheet and I just tape it to a hard surface, and I'm ready to paint on it. Of course, you can also use like a canvas board. So this, you can buy it like this. It's like a cardboard on the back and it's canvas on the front, or stretched canvas like this. So this canvas has been stretched on stretcher bars, and the canvases have been prepared with gesso. They come prepared with gesso. All right, enough with the talking. Let's do an exercise. I want to focus on certain very specific colors today. And for this reason, I'm showing you this color wheel. So this you can buy at a store. You don't necessarily need it, but with the color wheel, you can see that the red is right here, and opposite the red is the green. So you can see red and green. And basically what this shows is that the red is the complementary color of the green. So any of these colors on the color wheel, like for example, the yellow is opposite purple. So that means that the yellow is complementary to purple. Now the primary colors are the colors that I told you to buy. Yellow, red, and blue. And the complementary colors to a primary colors, like for example, the orange to the blue. So the blue is the primary, and the orange will be the complementary color of the blue. And the yellow is the primary color. So the complementary color to yellow is purple, and the purple is a secondary color. And same with the red is primary, green is its complementary color, and it's also a secondary. All right. In those who have taken classes with me have made their own color wheel like this. It's like a rosette, and it's got the primary in the squares, the secondary in the circles, and then the one in between a primary and a secondary is called a tertiary color, like magenta, indigo, turquoise, lime green, Indian yellow, and red orange. But for today, we'll use the red and the green. All right. I'm going to now point the camera to my palette and my canvas. All right. So this is my green here, right here, and I have my red right here. And what we want to experiment with is what other colors can we make with the green and the red. So let's start by, so I like to dip my brush in water. And let's start by just doing a little bit of coloring on the canvas. So I have an acrylic paper right here. This is what I'm going to use. And I'm just going to go here and put a little green on it to see if I like this green. It's pretty nice, actually. And like James would say, it's gonna dry almost instantly. You can do the exact same thing with your watercolors. So try to mix a nice green by mixing the blue and the yellow, and then the red would be the alizarin crimson out of the two. So now I've tried my green. I'm going to put my brush in the water and take another brush, but you can just clean your brush and use the same brush again. If you want to clean your brush, make sure that it's completely clean. You have to shake it very much. See on the paper, wipe it on the paper. If it's still green, that means it's not clean yet. You have to clean it some more. Now, when I wipe it and it looks like it's white, I mean, the paper doesn't get stained, then I know it's clean. And with acrylics, because it dries so fast, you need to keep your brushes in the water when you're not using them. Otherwise, they will dry up and they won't be usable anymore. And Bob Ross says hi. My coffee. All right, so now we're going to use the red and do the same as with the green. We're going to put it on the opposite side of the paper. So this is our nice, beautiful red. Alizarin Crimson is a cool red, and mixed with ultramarine blue gives some very nice purples. So now we have the green and the red, and I hope that you're trying that too. And I'm gonna change the camera so that you can see my palette again. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a mix of this green and this red. So I'm taking some red and I put it here. And now I change brush just so it's easier. This is my green brush. And I'm gonna take some green, a good amount, and I'm gonna mix it with a little bit of red on this side and a lot of red on the other side. So now this side is a lot of red, a little bit of green. So I'm going to take this. Because it's a lot of red, I'm going to put it right next to my red. Look at this nice brown color that we get. And clean my brush. Now I'm going to take, whoops, sorry. This is how you can see. It's a nice brown. It's kind of like a reddish brown. Now I'm going to take this here, which is a lot of green with a little bit of red. Because it's a lot of green, I'm going to put it next to the green on my paper, leaving a space in between. So now we have another kind of brown, but that is a lot more green than red. And to put in between, I'm going to try and attempt to have a color that's half red and half green. So I go back here, my palette, and I take all this green, all this red here, and same amount of green, I mix it up together. And with this, I'm going to paint right here in the middle of the two. Well, it seems like I have more red than green. So I'm going to add more green to my mix to make it more an in-between color. And the funny thing with acrylic, sometimes you paint thicker and it looks more intense, but the color is still there. So, oops, sorry. There you go. Now you can see that just using the alizarin crimson and the green made from ultramarine blue and primary yellow, you can make all of these different colors. So when painting an object that is red, and if you want to indicate a shadowy side, the good thing is, the good practice to do is to use the red plus its complementary color, and it will give you a deep, very deep color for the shadowy side. The same thing is true for green. So let's say you're doing a nice plant and you have the leaves, and some part of the leaf is in the shadow. So you use the green, and you're going to put some red into the green for the shadowy side, and it will give you some very nice results. And doing this practice for all colors is the best way to have nice, rich, deep shadows. So I bet you a lot of you have seen this nice apple that's right next here, right here. Well, the apple is round. What I would like us to do as the next exercise in this area is to just do a round object, and an egg shape would be a good segue into, you know, the exercise that we're going to do next week. So what I suggest that we do now is that we're going to do an egg-shaped object. But before we do, if anyone has any questions about these colors, now would be the good time to unmute yourself and ask your question. Now that we have practiced a little bit with the red and the green, we're going to, sorry. But what we're going to do now is we're going to try and do a round object, and think of an egg. So an egg is kind of like an oval shape. So we're just going to start by doing an oval shape in red. And you can do this in watercolor or in acrylic. So you should use, clean your brush completely. And using the red, just the red on my brush, I'm just going to draw somewhat of an oval shape, thinking of an egg, like this. And I'm just using the red right now. I'm going to put some water so that I can cover the whole thing. So because acrylic is a water medium, you can use some water to extend it and make it thin. Which is what I'm doing right now. All right, so now we have our egg. That is pretty much the same color all around. Well, I had a little mishap here, but it doesn't matter. So now I have an egg, which is the shape of an egg, but it's pretty flat because it's pretty much the same tone all the way around and the exact same color. Now, this egg is cannot be floating in the air, so I'm going to put it on a table. And to put it on the table, I'm going to use just a little bit of my green that I mixed. And if you're out of your green, remember to make the green, you mix the blue with the yellow, and you can make the green. So I'm going to use a very watery green. So I dip my brush in water, and then I just extend my green to have a lot of water in my green. It's almost like doing a watercolor. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a table under this egg. And the edge of the table will be about 1/4 up the egg. So like this, like this. And then this whole part will be my table. So just going to put this here like this. And I'm making it very watery, so it's a very light color. And with acrylic, it dries almost instantly. With watercolor, the technique and the approach would be slightly different. I would probably wet my paper first, but I'll do this kind of demonstration next week. There you go. All right, so now I have my egg on the table. However, it still looks like it's floating. Just because here, you know, the whole egg shape is still the same color and tone all the way around, because we only used the red. But now we're going to add the element of the light. So let's imagine for a moment that the light is coming from the right hand side like this. So this portion of the egg will be in the light, whereas this portion of the egg will be in the shadow. And it will also cast a shadow on the table. All right. So what do we do to create the shadowy area of the egg? Well, the best way would be to use the red and add its complementary color in the red. And the complementary color of red is green. So to do this, I'm going to mix some of my red with some of the green that I made and add a little water to it. It will give me very nice brownish kind of color. Now with this, I'm going to add a shadow at the bottom here. And as I come up, continue painting this, then I add even more red to my mix. Because now it's getting a little less of a shadowy and more of the actual color. So I try to keep it very watery. And now we are starting to see the shape of the egg appear, because now we have the shadowy area at the bottom. And actually, I also want it on this side. Without creating too much of a sharp edge. All right, so now, having used the green and the red, we have a nice shadowy area on our egg. But without a shadow on the table, it looks a little funny. So since the table is green, what I'm going to do to create the shadow on the table is, first I'm going to clean my brush. And I'm going to use some of this nice green that I have. And if you are out of green, just make some more by mixing your blue with the yellow. So using my green right here, I'm going to put just a teeny little bit of the red in it. Maybe just a teeny little bit more. And because our table is very watery, so very thinly painted, I'm going to make this very watery as well. And I'm just going to cast a shadow now on my egg. The shadow will look something like this. Now, for a shadow to look like what it's supposed to look like, the shadow will usually be darker closer to the object and going to a lighter shade on the outside, and as it goes away from the object, it will be more of a smooth edge to it. I can just use some water and smudge it around like this. And with watercolor, the great thing is you can paint wet on wet, and it will give you a nice result. There. And underneath there, right here, you want to make this very dark. Sometimes you have to let it dry before you continue painting on it. Now, what about the background? So in the background, because we have a red object, it's always nice to put a complementary color. However, if we make it the same color as the table, it's not going to work. So we could do a nice in-between background. And now if we look back at the different colors that we made up here, we can choose one of these colors. Like I really like this nice lighter version of the brown. And to make this, I just need to mix the red with the green and a lot of water, and it's going to give me a nice light brown background, which is what I'm going to do right now. So I'm mixing my red and my green together with a lot of water. And let's see, what color do I get? Pretty good. I'm just going to paint my background with this. Make sure it's very light in color and that it's painted all the way to the egg. And up above, the egg is very light. We might want to make it darkest there. If you want to make it, sorry, I keep forgetting that I need to change this. If you want to make it a little warmer, you can add more red to your mix. If you want to keep it cooler, you can have more green to the mix. So I'm keeping it very watery at this time. But with acrylic, you can also go very dark. So now we have an egg on a table. And because we only used green and red and a mix of these two colors, and the result is very harmonious, very harmonious. Now, when doing the background, um, using the colors that you already have on the objects in the painting is a very good approach. And next time you go to a museum, which will probably be a long time from now, because the Museum of Fine Arts is not going to be open until September. Anyway, you can look at those nice portraits that are displayed in the museum and try to identify the color that is in the background. And the colors are very often some sort of a gray, but the grays are made with the colors that were used on the objects to paint the objects on, on the painting. Now, to make this egg pop, what we're going to do is we're going to make more of the green. The green is made by mixing the yellow and the blue, and add some red to this. Now I'm going to get a very thick color, and I'm going to paint this a very thick color. This will make my egg pop. So I have a nice mix of the green and the red. Look at that. Now this is making my egg pop. And I went over the egg. So now what I do is with an almost dry brush, I'm just gonna go like this to clean up the egg, the edge of the egg there. So that's something that you can do with acrylic if you work quickly. And on this side, because it's the dark side of the egg, I'm going to go down to a lighter color with a dry brush, like this. And sometimes you might notice that as you paint some more, where you have just been painting, then it's going to lift. That means you need to let it dry, which will take a minute or two, and then come back later. Now that I'm almost done, just going to go over the shadow one more time. And the shadow is green with just a little bit of red in it. Make sure the edge of the shadow is not too sharp. Now's the time to fix the shape of the shadow if you need to. There. So now we have this. And the only other thing that would help would be the speckle of light. So just a little touch of titanium white. I just put a little bit of it on mine, and then I touch it and I leave it. here. Anybody has any questions? Now would be the time. I would like to assign the homework. So for the homework, basically the homework is, I've got 3 homeworks for you. So the first one is you can retry to do the exercise where you make a green with the red and the blue. You use your alizarin crimson, and then you try and do all of the different colors in between. And this, the objective is to get to know your colors and to get to know what other colors you can mix and you can make by just mixing 2 colors. The other exercise, and you can go to your kitchen and get an egg and put it on, on a surface and try and do this exercise again, just by using the red and the green. Then this can be done in, acrylic or watercolors. You can vary. You can try and do a green background, more of a green background than a brown background, and maybe do a brown platform. And or you can do a green egg and do a red platform. So you can have some fun with that. The other exercise, homework, is look through your photos, your magazines, your books. You can look online as well, and try and find a photo of a bird. Next week, we will start painting a bird. And so in preparation, doing just a drawing of the bird is a good idea to get to know the shape, because we will do a painting of a bird without doing a drawing first. And we will start it next week. We will probably not finish it. And next week I will explain the watercolor material, art supplies, and I will be doing my demonstration in watercolor. So we'll start the bird next week and we'll finish it the following week.
Thanks, Claire. That was lovely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Claire.
Very good.
Thanks, it was great.
Thank you.